not a screw, not a bolt. It was an amazing.
I stopped 10 wars, more that I even began. I sometimes begin to stop them.
Helicopters and
Nobel Peace Prize, please.
The
way things are going, because these like esteemed institutions have no worth whatsoever, and every single one of them is caving to Donald Trump's But of course, it's good when Trump does it, right? It's good when your side does it. It's bad only if you fantasize that your ideological enemies are doing it to you, even when they're not, and you tune yourself up. You tune yourself up. Also, open mocking is not synonymous with sufficient grief. Half of the people are not even open mocking. Half of the people are actually just simply not demonstrating sufficient grief. That is 100% what is going on here. Have you seen half the people that got fired, like the Ball State person that got fired? Half the people that are getting fired are just simply posting Charlie Kirk quotes. Oh my God, I keep saying Quirk. Charlie Kirk quotes while simultaneously saying political is abhorrent. Also, understand that open mocking is also perfectly permissible. What the fuck are we talking about? That's what the Republicans did for years with no penalties whatsoever to George Floyd, including Charlie Kirk.
At the same time, when you have networks that where I want to know, like in county,
Republicans still, after years and years, every day on George Floyd's birthday will post, oh, George Floyd is like, or on the day that he was, okay, the day that he was publicly by Derek Chauvin, okay, they will say 5 years sober now. George Floyd is 5 years sober now. They do it every year. They do it every year. What is that? Why can't you just admit you want to be out and about with whatever you want to say, okay? You want to be able to shit on whoever the you want to, and you don't want your opposition to do the same. Because that's what it comes down to. If it's no holds barred, then you should be able to make fun of Charlie Kirk as well, in the same way that Charlie Kirk made fun of George Floyd, for example. So why do you get up in your fifis?
Of the stories.
Anyway, let's listen to this guy.
The networks are bad, or whatever it may be, whether it's 89, it doesn't matter. It's a tremendous number. You know it, you report it all the time, and it changes. But when you have that kind of a negative reporting, fake negative reporting, when they take a great story and they make it into a bad story constantly, that's what they do. Look, 60 Minutes took Kamala's answer and they threw it out and they gave her a different answer so that she sounded competent. When things like that happen, George Slopadopoulos from your network, right? George Slopadopoulos had to pay $16 million to me because of what he said. And that's ABC. You had to pay more than that. Your network had to pay more than that. So I think it's very sad. But I think that reporting has to be at least accurate to an extent. Again, when somebody is given 97% of the stories are bad about a person, that's no longer free speech, that's no longer anything, that's just cheating. And they cheat. And they become really members of the Democrat National Committee. That's what they are, the networks, in my opinion. They're just offshoots of the Democrat National Committee.
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
Liam Castro for Zero Hedge. People are still anticipating who your pick for National Security Advisor will be. They're worried Marco Rubio is a little overworked, and one of the reported frontrunners is Michael Anton from the State Department.
He's good.
He's just authored the National Security Strategy. Also in the mix is Mike Flynn and
Good.
Steve Witkoff.
Good. No, we'll make a decision soon.
Okay.
But we're doing very well. You know, I settled 7 more than that, I think. But actually, we settled 7. I have, we're working on Gaza, it's a tough one, but we'll get it done somehow. And we're also working with Russia and Ukraine. They hate each other so much you wouldn't believe it. President Putin and President Zelensky, they hate each other to a level that you wouldn't believe. So they're having a little bit of a problem with that.
And are you considering Stephen Moran for Fed chair?
I hadn't thought of it too much. He's doing a great job. Just got approved. His vote was a very good one. The Fed should have done more. You know, too late. Powell is terrible. He's a terrible chair. I think he's just terrible. But despite that, we're powering through it. We have another record stock market today. We're very, very high levels, and we're at the highest levels. So we're setting records. Many, many days during my administration, we've set records, and we'll see what happens with 50,000. 50,000 is a pretty big number. Never come close. We're not so far away from it. So that's because they see what's happening. Not so much what's happening exactly right now, but they see all the plants that are being built. They see the kind of investment that's going to be made. When you take $17 trillion, so Biden had $250 billion, okay? Or putting a simpler way, they had much less than $1 trillion, but they had less than $1 trillion for 4 years. I have $17 trillion for 8 months. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And I think they're looking at that and they're saying when those plants open, right now they're being built, a lot of them, and some are starting over the next year. It takes a while, but we're getting fast permits. And when those plants get built, I don't think there'll be anything like what we're going to experience. Yeah?
Mr. President, if I can, on the tough subject of free speech, Ted Cruz compared Brendan Carr to a mob boss, the way he's threatening television stations and saying it's absolutely dangerous for the government to determine which speech is okay and which is not. What's your reaction to Ted Cruz?
I think Brendan Carr is an incredible American patriot with courage. You know, it used to be, I remember in the old days that networks would have to get licensed, relicensed, and it was always a big deal. You know, they had to show honesty and integrity. When you have a network, again, I'll use the same numbers, whether it's 90 or 94 or 97, all different numbers, but when you have networks that give somebody 97% bad publicity or 94% bad publicity, I think that's dishonesty. And you know they're getting free airwaves, right? You know that, right? You get them for nothing. These airwaves, they make millions and millions of dollars. The news makes millions of dollars. ABC, your network. I mean, your network wrote very badly about me, and they had to pay me $16 million.
So you think
I wasn't looking for that.
Brendan Carr has a right to...
No, I think Brendan Carr is a patriot. I think Brendan Carr is a courageous person. I think Brendan Carr doesn't like to see the airwaves be used illegally and incorrectly and purposely horribly. Doesn't like to see a person that won the election in a landslide get 97% bad publicity before the election. I mean, it's amazing that I won the election with that, but here's what happened. The people have given your networks no credibility. They don't give them any credibility, John. If they did, they wouldn't vote for me. They wouldn't have voted for me. When you look at, I mean, you could also say the liberal media, the liberal left, when you look at these stories and papers, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about, I assume you're talking mostly about the networks, but they have a licensing procedure, and you can read it as well. They have to show honesty and integrity. And when they take a good, well, I think the people decide. That's why I'm president. When they take a great success, like you often do, and you make it into like it's a loser, or you put a negative spin on it, I don't think that's right. So I think Brendan Carr is a great American patriot. So I disagree with Ted Cruz on that.
Will you be at the UN next week? You're going to the UN?
I'll be at the UN. I'll be making a speech, yes.
And are you meeting any other world leaders?
Many of them.
What
Well, I'm meeting many of them. They're being set up.
is your goal from attending that meeting? What do you hope to get out of it?
World peace. Nobody's done a better job than I've done in world peace. Nobody's settled so many as I have. You know, I've been here probably a little bit more than 8 months, and I've settled 7, and that doesn't include the destruction of a vast potential nuclear disaster in Iran, which we wiped out totally. As I say, obliterated. We obliterated it. It's been turned right with this beautiful plane right here. We just ordered some more of them, by the way. The B-2 bomber. Just ordered some more. The more updated version. Not that we needed that. We just need the plane because it was so flawless. These pilots flew 37 hours flawlessly. Not an engine problem, not a not a screw, not a bolt.
Oh.
It was an amazing.
I stopped
compare that
10
to
wars,
many years
more
in
than I
Mikado,
even
same
began. I sometimes begin to stop
with the
them.
helicopters and the
Nobel
problems
Peace
and the
Prize,
prisoners
please.
and the hostages.
The way things are
What a
going,
mess.
because these like esteemed institutions have no worth whatsoever, and every single one of them is caving to Donald Trump's policies, I could see him getting a Nobel Peace Prize eventually, okay? In an effort to keep up the appearances that this is the new normal, with the hopes that he won't come after them eventually. You know what I mean? None of this shit matters anymore.
Catastrophic. So, so I think that nobody has ever done anywhere near that. Now, on top of that, we're working very hard to get Russia-Ukraine settled. We'll see what's going to happen there. I hope we're going to get it done. President Xi and I spoke to him about it, and I believe that he really would like to see it done also, and I think he's going to work with us to help.
What was your message to President Xi on Ukraine? What are you asking?
Well, it's the same as his message to me. He would like to see it done. He would like to see it. I believe he would like to see it ended. Yes, I do believe.
These 2 wars that you were talking about, Gaza and Ukraine, are escalating at the same time. You want to take the stage and the UN back at the stage after these years. Do you plan to setting any kind of red lines for these 2 countries? And you said before,
Well, we're going to see.
You are frustrated with Putin.
Yeah.
Are you also frustrated?
We have a long time to go before I get up and speak at the UN, because every day is a long time when it comes to Gaza and it comes to Israel and the Middle East. So we have a long time to go, but you know a lot of my opinions, and remember this, you can't forget October 7th either. People are forgetting October 7th. They forget it too quickly. That was one of the worst days in world history. It was the most evil attack that I think you could really say babies were involved, little babies were involved, and having their heads chopped off and all of the things that took place. You can't forget that. I don't forget that. A lot of people do, but I don't. Yeah, please.
Brandon, it's Joe Brandon time. It's Joe Brandon time. He's Brandonizing. Hell yeah, baby. That is
we'll see what
that
happens
is
with Bagram.
typical Brandon. Welcome back, Joe Brandon. Welcome back, Joe Brandon.
Been given up. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. There was no reason to give it up. I was leaving Afghanistan. I was leaving. I was the one that got it down to 5,000 soldiers, but we were going to keep Bagram, the air base. I said it yesterday, and we had an incredible trip, as you know, to UK, and I said it during the press conference. It's one of the most powerful runways ever built in terms of weight, length, and load, what it could take, and we just gave it up for nothing. We gave it up for nothing. There was no reason to give it up. We weren't going to leave Bagram. Joe Biden didn't know what he was doing. We had a man that didn't know what he was doing. We had a man, by the way, that didn't approve. If you take a look at what's happening in Congress, we had a man that signed almost everything with an auto pen, and he didn't tell the
Whereas
people from
I
the auto
signed it
pen
with a
who were
real
going.
Sharpie, not an auto pen.
Dominantly said that
Except for the Jeffrey Epstein letter. That was auto pen. That was auto pen. Even I would never sign that. That was auto pen. But everything else I signed myself.
All the information from J6, they deleted everything because it turned out that they were wrong. It turned out that I offered 10,000 National Guard or soldiers, whatever they wanted, and you wouldn't have had a problem. And they turned it down. Nancy Pelosi turned it down, and the mayor of Washington, D.C. turned it down. They deleted everything, and they did illegally. And Biden gave them a pardon. And Biden gave a lot of other people pardons that, frankly, would be in jail if it wasn't for those pardons. But those pardons now are illegal, according to just about everybody.
On Letitia James, are you disappointed that the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia has not prosecuted Letitia James? Do you intend to fire him?
Well, we're going to see what happens. I am not following it very closely. It looks to me like, but I really don't know. I know that the U.S. Attorney from the Eastern District, or from that district in Virginia, that he was approved by 2 Democrat senators who, in my opinion, are among the worst. And when I learned that 2 senators, Democrats, because as you know, it's very hard with the blue slip, it's very hard for a Republican to get somebody approved if you have 1 senator that's a Democrat because of an old custom. It's not a law, it's a custom. It's a ridiculous custom. But if you have a Democrat senator, you have to get that senator to approve. Well, in this case, we had two. When I saw that he got two senators, two gentlemen that are bad news as far as I'm concerned, when I saw that he got approved by those two men, I said, pull it, because he can't be any good.
So you want him fired? You want him out?
Yeah, I want him out, yeah. When I learned that he was blue-slipped through by two Democrat senators in Virginia, people that would never vote for it, people that haven't voted for us for probably years, okay, probably years. In my opinion, two bad guys. You know, they are, Warner and Kane. Two bad guys, bad senators too. They do a terrible job for the people of Virginia. But when I saw that he got approved by these two terrible people that haven't voted, they just don't vote, no matter what it is. We could give them the greatest deal ever, and they still wouldn't vote. And they voted for this guy. And I have other people, judges, and I have U.S. attorneys from other states where I have the same situation, and they can't get approved. So when I learned that they voted for him, I said, I don't really want him. Okay. No, behind you, please.
Have you seen the polling, the Gallup poll out of Ukraine that shows 23%, less than a quarter, of Ukrainians actually support continuing the war against Putin? We saw the European leaders come here and try to say the world is united for the war effort, but Ukrainians have war fatigue themselves.
Well, I don't blame them.
Your thoughts on it?
I don't blame them. It's a war that never should have started. It's a war that never would have happened. If I were president, that war never would have happened, ever. That's a disgrace that that war happened. And they're losing anywhere from 5,000 to 8,000 people a week on that war, which is the worst since the Second World War. That's a war that should have never happened.
And if you consider
Would have never happened. And it didn't happen for 4 years. When I was here, it didn't happen. Go ahead.
Have you considered cutting funding, even promises made by the Biden administration?
Well, we're not spending any money on the war. You know, we're being paid for everything we said. Unlike Biden, he gave them $350 billion, and it was shocking. We're not spending any money on the war. The war is being funded by NATO. NATO is buying our equipment. In fact, I don't want to make money on that war. I don't want to, but we are actually making money on that war because they're buying our equipment, as you know. But NATO, as you know, and very important, is funding the entire thing. They're paying for the missiles, for the tanks. They're paying for anything that's sent over there. It goes to NATO, and then NATO does what they want with it. In this case, I guess they give it to Ukraine. It's a very sad war. It's a war that never should have happened. Go ahead, please.
Trump gold card is a $1 million way to enter the country, or five? Is it 1 million or five?
Well, we're going to announce that. Are you talking about TikTok? Yeah, we're going to announce it. But it's a great
It's
deal for our
$5 million,
country. It's a great
and you can
deal
become
for all of the
you
young
can get a
people
gold
in the
card to be a
country that wanted
citizen.
it. And people generally. I was happy with it. Look, I wasn't a fan of TikTok, and then I got to use it, and I became a fan, and it helped me win the election.
$5 million is
in a
tax-free?
landslide.
Wait.
I think that it's a deal that's going to be great, and it's also controlled by very powerful and very
TikTok. By the way,
American
TikTok is
people.
actively going after anyone that has ever said anything about Israel. For the record, already, it's already cooked. They already brought like an anti-Semitism czar on, former IDF anti-Semitism czar, and no outlet is safe. You will never be able to do discontent. You will never be able to fucking oppose Israel, for example. It's cooked. It's over. Good luck. Good luck to America. Good luck to politics. Good luck to fucking any sort of discourse. They are going to greatly try to cut away any kind of initiative to organize, any kind of broad awareness initiative as well. They are going to try to make it as difficult as fucking possible with censorship to make it so that you can't even fucking say things suck. Okay. Game over, baby.
So it's you're going to have a lot of jobs. The jobs are being created right
it's
now.
like the same
And
billionaires
tariffs-
that own
the
every
tariffs
media
are
company
protecting
too.
our country, and we didn't use, tariffs we used against us, but we didn't use them against others. But we're really better at it than anybody else, and we've taken
Fantastic
We will
stuff.
have taken
Love
in
it.
trillions of dollars. Nobody's ever seen anything. Even people that were against the tariffs, now they see the way they're working. And by the way, with no inflation, with no problem, we're just building up cash, and we're using that cash to reduce taxes. reduce debt and other things. It's a great thing to watch. And your honest reporters are saying they've never seen anything like what's happening. Our country is becoming very rich again only
This
because
is part of the
that.
reason why I said
If we
he's
didn't
like
have
he's
it-
talking
if
like
we
a
didn't
man who
have- if I
doesn't
didn't
think
get
he's
elected,
ever going to
this
stop
country would
being
be-
the leader of this country.
It was a dead country. Look, we were a dead country a year
He
ago, and now we're
talks
the most
like a
successful,
man
most vibrant
who
country
does not
anywhere in the
fear
world.
an upcoming election.
Hello, Sean.
Do you
You
understand?
look good on television. Good.
Tonight, in a few minutes, Steve Bannon will appear on my show.
Good.
He floats the idea that you should dual hat Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, not only as Treasury Secretary, but as
Just
interim
something to
Defense
consider.
Secretary. Would you be willing to entertain that?
In other words, you like Scott.
Yes, sir, very much.
So do I. And I like Steve, too. Okay.
Would you like to see that? Him dual
Well, it's
hat?
certainly an interesting tool. We could save a little bit on salary. I think I could maybe make a deal where we just give him one salary. You know, I have a couple of them.
I don't think you need
I have Marco. No, I don't think so. And we have Marco's got about 3 positions, right? He's doing great also. No, I don't think that's going to be necessary. Actually, I went to Scott and I talked to him about that position, and he loves what he's doing right now. So, you know, he's not in the mix because he loves being Secretary of the Treasury.
Quick follow-up. Today is the first day of early voting in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Are you planning on campaigning for Winston Sears, John Reed, or Jason Mayaris?
Well, I'm going to have to look at some of them. As you know, it's sort of a semi-local election. I've been watching it. I've been seeing the ads.
I would appreciate it as a Virginia voter.
Who do you like of the group? Who do you
The
like?
whole ticket, sir.
All of them? You like them? All right.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll take a very strong look.
Appreciate
Okay.
that.
For you, I'm going to look.
Mr. President,
Secretary Kennedy's panel on vaccine changed
Yeah.
its broad recommendations on COVID-19 vaccines today. Are you comfortable with that change, or would you like to see Americans take the vaccines that were developed under your tenure?
Yeah. Well, the vaccines, according to a lot of people, and if you look at charts, have had a tremendous, Operation Warp Speed. It was, just according to just about everybody, was one of the greatest things that any president has ever done in this country. So we're very proud of it. I'm very proud of it. I'm also very proud of Regeneron and some of the things that came out of, all of the labs and all of the research that we've done. So I don't know exactly what the final determination is, but I had the vaccine. I was very happy with it. Here I am, right? Here I am.
Have you had it again recently?
Bobby Kennedy seems to be undoing what you did with
No, I put him in.
Operation
I
Warp
put him
Speed.
in there because I want to have opposite views. That's okay. I think we're going to have something very, very big coming up soon on autism. Autism is totally out of control, and one of the biggest, one of the most important things that, in my opinion, I had to do is to see what's going on with autism. And we're going to have a news conference early next week on autism, and I think you're going to see some things that are amazing that we've learned that somebody else wouldn't have learned. It's out of control. Autism, out of control, and I think we maybe have the reason why.
But is Bobby Kennedy going too far and unwinding?
Well, I don't know. He's saying for
bad
older
things about
people.
your vaccine?
Yeah, he's saying for older people. A lot of people agree with that. And but I can tell you this: Operation Warp Speed, one of the greatest things a president has ever done for this country. And you can say the world, because when we came up with that vaccine, the whole world opened up. But I put Bobby there as somebody that will go either way. And I want the facts, but I also look at facts from Pfizer, where they spent a lot of money, and the other drug companies, they spent a lot of money on finding out the results after the fact, and the results were amazingly good.
Mr. President,
Yeah, please.
I'm wondering if you've seen the video put out by former Israeli hostages addressed to you. One is a widow of one that died, and these are people who were freed thanks to you. But they're actually encouraging you to force a ceasefire, force Netanyahu to ceasefire. And they didn't address it to him because they think you're the one who might actually listen to them and get it done. They're worried that the hostages who are still there are more at risk if the war continues.
Well, they might be. They also, maybe they'll be freed because of that. You never know how it's going. Look, war, I was saying, yes, war, a lot of strange things happen. A lot of results take place that you would never think were going to happen. As you know, I was able to get most of the hostages out. We're down to 20, and we have 32 dead people. You know that. We have 32, maybe more, 38, but between 32 and 38 people that were dead, mostly young people. And I've dealt with some of the parents. And we got all our Americans out, as you know, but now we're talking about mostly Israelis. But I dealt with parents, I spoke to parents, and they want the body of their son, I believe in almost all cases sons, but they want the body of their cherished, beautiful son. They want the body back as much as though he were alive. It's so sad to see. But I've dealt with the mothers and fathers. Please, sir, please, the body of my son. They know he's dead, and they want him back as much as though he's alive. I mean, it's very terrible, and you know we have very close to 40 bodies that are included in the whole thing. But we have 20, probably 20 that are living. It might be a little bit less because a couple of things. Look, young people don't die, okay? They just don't die. And they can take a lot, but a lot of people died in these horrible tunnels. They're mostly in the tunnels. I know a lot about it. I got them out. But I always said the last 20, when you get down to the last 10 or 20, it's going to be very tough. It's a nasty situation. You can't forget October 7th, but it's a nasty situation, terrible. It's a
Mr.
terrible
President, on
thing.
Gaza, the UN concluded this week that Israel committed genocide in Gaza. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I haven't seen that. I'm looking at it, but did anybody commit genocide on October 7th? What do you think about that?
He's so bad at
That
this
was genocide
because he doesn't give a shit about
at the highest
anything.
level. That
So
was
he can't even like get
murder,
the
genocide.
proper counter narrative across.
But little babies were chopped in half.
And in Gaza?
Arms were cut off.
He's
people,
trying to do
heads
the
were cut
October
off
7
people.
thing. Like, is October 7 not a
genocide.
genocide?
That's genocide
Like, which is
also,
so
I guess,
crazy to
right?
say. If October 7 is a genocide, we need a different term for what Israel has done since October 7.
Well, it hasn't been
Talking about
fully
babies being chopped in
negotiated, but
half.
We'll get something from the standpoint that we worked hard. We put up a lot. We spent a lot of money on letting this come and letting this. It's a very, very big deal. It's a very powerful deal, and the United States really. I see it. I mean, people were saying, "Save TikTok, save TikTok." So many people. It's a big thing. And, you know, China can be very proud that they were able to get that started. And so I very much appreciate President Xi's working with us on that. Very much.
What comes next after designating Antifa?
Well, we have others that we're going to designate too, but we're going to look at the people that funded Antifa, see who they are, where they came from, and why they did. Have you seen Portland at all? Have you taken a look at what's happening in Portland?
Yes, Ellison is involved in the
It's,
TikTok deal.
I
That's
mean,
why
it's
he
been
loves
going on
it.
for years.
And Ellison obviously is another
People out
fucking
of
super
control.
pro-Israel freak.
Crazy. We're going to stop that very soon. We have to get rid of a couple of other problems first. We're going to get rid of
By the way,
problems in Memphis where you
Antifa.
can't even walk a block
Literally,
without getting
Antifa.
shot.
That is anti-fascist action. That is a heroic depiction of anti-fascist action right above his stupid fucking face as he's talking about Antifa, we're going to go after Antifa. It's like, okay, that quite literally is a depiction of anti-fascist action, okay?
Meaningful to me. It was so it was like terrible. In a way, it was terrible. Save Chicago. You know, who would ever think that we'd be sitting here talking about saving Chicago? Chicago's a great city. They have a terrible mayor. Terrible. He's at like 5% approval rating. He's an incompetent person. They have an incompetent governor, in my opinion. He's incompetent. 11 people get shot, and he says crime isn't a good shot. I mean, they're losing 4, 5, 6 people a week, getting killed by bullets, by knives. And then he says how wonderful it is, Chicago. So, well, it might be wonderful for him. I think they're afraid. Look, he's not a stupid guy. I really believe they're afraid to say, politically, I guess, from an ideology standpoint, from a democratic stand, he is afraid to say the fact that they have a very unsafe, very dangerous city. He should say, I'm going to call President Donald Trump, and I'm going to ask him to send in the troops, to send in the National Guard and clean this hellhole up. Because Chicago can be a great city again. I'll tell you what, Washington, D.C. is a great place again. It's booming. and the restaurants are booming. And 6 months ago, 7 months ago, nobody could go outside. And even just walking around the White House, people here are thanking me for what I've done. They're thanking me. They're saying thank you. And I almost know what they mean because they can walk to work. And even when they took Uber and they took other forms of transportation, they felt unsafe because the car was hijacked while they're in there. They take a car and it's being hijacked as they get into the car. And they did that for safety. And now we have a safe place. You know, we've taken 1,500 people out of career criminals have been taken out of Washington, D.C. And we weren't very nice about it. And you
What do you think of that rail merger? Did you discuss it with the Union Pacific?
I did discuss it, and I don't want to make a comment on it, but Union Pacific is a great railroad, and they want to add a railroad that had a mistake at a place very close to my heart. You know, a lot of people say that that was a place where I got off to a very good start. It was a rough thing that happened. Well, they're trying to buy that railroad that had the problem.
How do I edit
sounds
this?
good to me, to be honest with you.
Do I have to open it in Paint?
I'm a very big fan of the head of the railroad, the head of the Union Pacific. He started as a very low on the totem pole, started his job very low and became the chairman of the company over a 45-year period. But I asked him about different cities. He said, St. Louis is tough. He sort of stops at many of them. New Orleans.
Shut up.
We have to save New Orleans.
Mr. President,
when are you going to get
We're going to be going into New York too. Yeah.
Mr. President,
And we're going to be
Boom,
going
boom,
in.
boom.
Wyatt,
Easy peasy,
you're
baby. Look at
really
that.
Obnoxious.
I'm not obnoxious, but I'm
Trump talking about anti-fascism being a terrorist designation right in front of the
really
Iwo Jima
obnoxious.
statue that depicts the American military engaging in anti-fascist
Okay.
acts against fascist imperialist Japan.
I'm
How
not
stupid this
calling
entire
you.
thing is.
What are your plans
So,
for this?
who else? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to sell this free speech question because you said that you restored free speech in America.
Yeah.
Is that free speech including for people who are harshly critical of you, for your political opponents, for people who say things you don't
I've
like,
become
who
immune
treat
to it.
you unfairly?
I've become immune to it. There's never been a person that's had more unfair publicity than me, and that's why your network paid me $15 million, or $16 million, I believe, to be exact, George Slopadopoulos, and that's why CBS paid me a lot of money too. And that's why I sued the New York Times 2 days ago for a lot of money. Because I'm winning. I mean, I'm winning the cases. And the reason I'm winning is because you're guilty, John. You're guilty. ABC is a terrible network, a very unfair network, and you should be ashamed of yourself. NBC is equally bad. I don't know who's worse. I think they're equally bad. And, you know, for you to stand there and act so innocent and ask me a question like that. But look, you paid a big price because you were dishonest, John. The reason I won that lawsuit was because you were dishonest. You were proven to be dishonest. And so you can't sit back and just say, oh, well, what do you think? You know, like you're
The New York case he just mentioned was thrown out today. I know.
Frankly, you're a terrible
Maybe they didn't tell him that yet.
You know it, and so do I. Okay.
Mr. President,
Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're
What the fuck?
going to do. We're going to talk about something that's going to reduce our taxes greatly. That's going to hopefully bring some great people into our country. You know, as you know, right now nobody's coming in because we've succeeded in closing. We've closed the border very successfully. I think you will agree. We had nobody come in for the last few months. I mean, it was actually said zero. Even I can't believe zero, but the numbers are put out by very impartial people or people that have a tendency to be on the left. And they actually said for the last 3 months, nobody came in. We have a very strong border. It's a closed border. People are coming into our country, but they're coming in legally. It's a beautiful thing to watch. But we are doing something where rather than coming into the border, 25 million people came into our country during Biden. One of the saddest things. The worst thing.
One of the saddest
He was
things.
horrible in inflation. He was horrible in just about everything you could be. I don't think he was good on. He wasn't even fair on anything. It was a horrible administration. He was the worst president in the history of our country.
Sad.
And we have to mop it up.
Horrible.
The
Sad.
hardest thing that we have to do is to get rid of the criminals that he allowed into our country from prisons, from mental institutions, gang members, drug dealers. And we're getting them out, and we're getting them out fast, and we're making America safe again. Great again, but we're making America safe again. And it's an honor to do it. but this is something, this is an unforced error. What they've done is, this is just an unforced error. So I'm going to ask Howard to speak. Howard's done a fantastic job, as you know, Secretary of Commerce. And I'm going to ask Howard and Will, could you just give a quick description of what we're doing and
Why are the
what we're
pod
signing,
sounds like
et cetera?
this?
And
Yes, sir.
I will do that. Go ahead.
We have two items for your attention today, sir. A major focus of your administration has been shifting the conversation and shifting the policy dynamics around the issue of immigration, closing the border, preventing illegal immigration, but also, as is the case with the executive order in front of you, opening new pathways for truly extraordinary people to come contribute to America instead of taking away from it. So this executive order is entitled the Gold Card. It will set up a new pathway, a new visa pathway for foreigners of extraordinary ability who are committed to supporting the United States for a payment of $1 million to the U.S. Treasury, or if a corporation is sponsoring them, $2 million by that corporation, and that will give them access to expedited visa treatment as part of this new Gold Card program.
And one of the biggest problems we have is that people, they go to the best schools and they do great and they get great marks, and then they're thrown out of the country. You're not allowed to stay. This way, a corporation will be able, sort of like a signing bonus in baseball or football, a corporation will be able to get them to stay in the country. And I think it's going to be tremendously successful. Howard, would you say a few words about it, please?
Sure. So historically, the employment-based Green Card program let in 281,000 people a year. And those people, on average, earned $66,000 a year
Not
on
enough.
average.
We
And they
need
were
to make sure
5
the
times
migrants are
more
rich.
likely to go on assistance programs of the government. So we were taking in the bottom quartile.
Oh my
below
God.
the
Oh my God. I
average
can't believe they're
American.
saying this.
It was
That is so
illogical.
nutty,
the only
bro.
country in the world that was taking in the bottom quartile. So what we are doing now is we are going to stop doing that. We're going to only
Bro,
take
those are people.
extraordinary
They literally end up becoming insanely important, prominent fucking people. Their children end up becoming insanely important, prominent people. Steve Jobs is one of those people, right? Syrian refugee Steve motherfucking Jobs. Like, what are you talking about? You don't know. You don't know the unlimited potential that people have. That's why immigration is good.
Going to be very successful. Essentially,
Holy fuck.
having people come in.
And the irony is 66,000 when he's like talking about like the financial status
coming in,
of
they're gonna
people
spend
coming into the
a lot
country.
of money to come
And
in.
I will tell you this as someone who grew up in Turkey. Okay? When he's talking about the finance of the people that are able to get the green cards, people that are coming into the country, he doesn't realize that those are the top 1% of wealth in those respective countries, because America is a much wealthier nation as opposed to every other nation on the planet, which is precisely why those immigrants that are coming in also tend to have a much higher educational attainment. Okay? The top 1% of wealth in Nigeria, which, again, the reason why I'm using Nigeria is because out of all of the nationalities that come to the United States of America, they have the highest educational attainment, okay? Far higher than white people as a whole on U.S. soil. For example, the thing is, their living standards and their wealth, okay, their living standards and their wealth back home, when adjusted to the United States of America, is of course going to be significantly lower. But that doesn't mean that, like, you know, they're not like incredibly successful people. Not only that, but also your level of success should not be determined by your earning potential anyway. These are fucking human beings.
Prisons, from jails, from mental institutions, and even insane asylums, people that are crazy. We're taking them out of the country. We're getting them out of the country because you can't have a country like that. And I tell you, Christie and Tom Holman and all of the people that have worked so hard on this, they've done an unbelievable job. And I think we're getting great marks for it. People feel safe. Washington, D.C. is just the beginning. We brought the numbers down in Chicago a little bit by having the FBI in there for the last 5 months. We brought the numbers down in Memphis a little bit, but now we're going for the big one. Now we're going to go for the big one. But we set ourselves up very well in Chicago, Memphis, New Orleans a little bit, going in early just to see what was happening. We study it. We're studying the site. It's sort of like war. I mean, I hate to tell you, it's like war. Some of these people are really bad. They're really, really sick people. They're dangerous people. They're killers. They're murderers, drug dealers, and can't have it. You can't have a country like that. It's so beautiful to see at Washington, D.C., that people are walking down the middle of the street and they're going to restaurants, and you are too. And half of you were mugged. I mean, I don't know if she's here now. I don't see her, but some people were badly mugged that were reporters. Two of the people right standing in the back of the room were mugged, and they're not going to have that anymore. And if you look at the crime stats in Washington, D.C., you have a safe place again. They were afraid to go to a restaurant because the restaurant would be held up while they're having dinner. And so they'd be mugged going there, and assuming they escaped the mugging, they go to the restaurant and then they're held up. This is how bad it's been. Yep.
Follow up on the visa question. I think this may be the next thing that you're signing, but for the H-1B visa action,
Yeah, that's going to be next. We'll talk about that.
You're very close to the technology CEOs. Are they concerned about that?
I think they're going to be very happy. Everyone's going to be happy.
The income stated green card holders earn as equal, if not more, than the median income in citizens. They just unintentionally admitted how poor our average citizens are, and that we need more social assistance programs if those immigrants making as much or more than the average citizen truly need public assistance. Yeah, but don't you realize it's bad? Anyone receiving any sort of social assistance is bad. That implies that there's a moral rot, because poverty is associated with some kind of moral failing.
It's phase one.
And it's extra moral rot if it's a black or brown person that, God forbid, is receiving social safety
Thank you, Mr. President.
help.
One of the most abused visa systems in our current immigration system has been the H-1B non-immigrant visa program. This is supposed to allow highly skilled laborers who work in fields that Americans don't work in to come into the United States of America. What this proclamation will do is raise the fee that companies pay to sponsor H-1B applicants to $100,000. This will ensure that the people they're bringing in are actually very highly skilled and that they're not replaceable by American workers. So it'll protect American workers, but ensure that companies have a pathway to hire truly extraordinary people and bring them to the United States to work.
We need workers. We need workers. We need great workers.
I thought we had workers. What happened?
Much ensures that that's what's going to happen. I think, Sean, do you agree with that?
Well, they're $100,000 per year. So the whole idea is no more will these big tech companies or other big companies train foreign workers. They have to pay the government $100,000, then they have to pay the employee. So it's just not economic. If you're going to train somebody, you're going to train one of the recent graduates from one of the great universities across our land, train Americans, stop bringing in people to take our jobs. That's the policy here, $100,000 a year for H-1B visas, and all of the big companies are on board. We've spoken to them about the gold card.
They love it. They love it. They really love it. They need it.
I'm not going to lie. There's nothing funnier to me than ascribing like a moral position to mega corporations. Like the moral position that these guys are so woke that they just want like more Indian guys in the country. And that's why they're using H-1B visa as a program, as a way to exploit it. Because they just like, they hate white people. Also, of course, there's like Indian people living in America as well, but that's besides the point, right? Like they just specifically hate the white guy who was going to get that job, and they just want to replace the white guy with a H-1B visa recipient that is from India or from another Asian country. And not because the H-1B visa structure also uniquely creates a double a second tier labor force that is reliant on keeping their job so that they can stay in the fucking country. If you want actual parity, if you want H-1B visas to be a real program that's not beneficial for corporate profits, but instead is one that actually is used only when there is real need, you have to do wage parity, as I've said before, and you have to ensure that the threat of deportation is not imminent if they lose their fucking jobs. That's unironically how you're supposed to do it. But of course, God forbid they do that because it's antithetical to white supremacist values.
anywhere in the world. Think of that. And this is going to help. And we're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. This will be taken in, the gold card will be taken in hundreds of billions of dollars. And companies will be able to keep some people that they need. You know, they need people of expertise, great expertise. And I think it's going to be a fantastic thing. And we're going to take that money and we're going to reduce taxes. We're going to reduce debt. We have a very, very strong country. We assuming everything works out great.
Has he sold a single gold card yet? I'm sure he will.
We have a lawsuit that's inspired by foreign countries that ripped us off for 25
despots.
Years. But assuming we win that, we hopefully win it in the Supreme Court of the United States. We have a country that, because we're rich, we'll be rich. We can take care of poor people. We can take care of our military. We can take care of everything. We can take care of beyond the country.
Think about it this way.
Take care of the world.
I wouldn't be able to fucking purchase a Trump gold card, okay? And you think I'm the wealthiest motherfucker on the planet?
Charged us tariffs.
Who the fuck has $5 million laying around?
Any country
oligarchs
in the history of the world, and now we're doing what we have to do. We're taking in billions and billions of dollars at levels that nobody has ever seen, trillions of dollars, and we're using it to reduce debt. We're using it to reduce taxes. The great big beautiful bill is a big tax reduction. It's being paid for by the tariffs, and people are paying a lot less money in taxes. They're being, think of it, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. It's an unbelievable phenomenon. It really is. It's the golden age. We're making it the golden age. Without the tariffs, it would be impossible. And China, for years, charged us tariffs, and they continue to do it, and so do other countries. Most countries, they charge us. They were ripping. Look, the European Union, as you know, I get along very well with them, but they ripped us off so badly. Nobody's ever seen anything. Now, the European Union is paying us $950 billion, and they're paying us $750 billion to buy our energy, and they're okay with it. They signed the agreement. You know, it's not like anybody forced them to do it. They're okay with us. Tariffs are making our country very rich again, and we'll be able to take care of our debt. We'll be able to take care of our taxes, lower taxes. We'll be able to take care of Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. We're going to be a rich country again. Without tariffs, we'd be in very big trouble.
H-1B visas are sometimes used by people. Excuse me. H-1Bs are sometimes used by people already in the country legally.
Yeah, we're paying the tariffs, by the way, but that's besides the point. Obviously, that's a moot point at this point. Nobody gives a shit.
Renewals, first times, the company needs to decide, is that person valuable enough to have $100,000 a year payment to the government, or they should head home and they should go hire an American. The whole idea, it's annual, and it's for total. It can be a total of 6 years. So $100,000 a year, so either the person is very valuable to the company and America, or they're going to depart and the company's going to hire an American, and that's the point of immigration. Hire Americans and make sure the people coming in are the top people. Stop the nonsense of letting people just come into this country on these visas that were given away for free. President is crystal clear. Valuable people only for America. Stop the nonsense.
And remember, the country,
fee to America.
The country would rather not have to pay $100,000, but and they'd rather. How do you do that? You hire Americans. So there's an incentive to hire American. But there may be instances where it's better off doing through expertise or whatever it may be. But they're both unbelievable.
I need you to understand one more time, okay? This only makes sense if there is this hidden underlying notion that these companies are wokely trying to substitute the white workforce with like an Asian one, okay? Like that's the only reason why all of these companies, including Twitter, was doing this was specifically because Elon Musk wokely just wanted more Indian coders and not the white ones. Are H-1B visas bad though? Yes, but the reason why it's bad is because two-tiered labor structure where these well-educated laborers are exploited more than the domestic market substitutes. That's the only reason why it's a problem. It's supposed to work for people that don't have, it's supposed to work for people that have no equivalent, right? Like you just literally do not have a domestic market substitute. So you are looking at the global labor force for someone to fill that role. Okay? The reason why it's fucked up is because the H-1B visa structure relies on people wanting to stay in the country. And the only way that they can continue staying in the country is no matter how hard your boss fucking whips your ass, you have to shut the fuck up, eat it, and keep working. Because if you quit your job, you're cooked. You're deported. That's it. That's the way that the H-1B visa creates an unequal structure, an unequal labor structure. Okay? A more exploitable professional labor class. It also leads to lower wages, but not always. And people will point to like